the Mahabharata of Krishna-Dwaipayana Vyasa. Translated into English prose from the original Sanskrit text by Pratap Chandra Roy C.I.E. This free ebook has been downloaded from holybooks.com. Bhishma Parva. Section 101, Bhishma Parva continued. Sanjaya said, Then the noble Abhimanyu of great energy, borne by his steeds of a tawny hue, rushed at the mighty host of Duryodhana, scattering his arrowy showers like the clouds pouring torrents of rain. O son of Kuru's race, thy warriors in that battle were unable to resist that slayer of foes viz. Subhadra's son, who excited with wrath and possessed of wealth of arms was then immersed in that inexhaustible ocean of Kaurava forces. Death-dealing shafts, O king, shot by him in that battle dispatched many heroic Kshatriyas to the regions of the king of the departed spirits. Indeed, excited with wrath, Subhadra's son in that battle shot fierce and blazing arrows in profusion that resembled snakes of virulent poison, or rods of death himself. And Falguni's son speedily split into fragments car warriors with their cars, steeds with their riders and elephant warriors along with the huge animals they rode. And the rulers of the earth, filled with joy, applauded those mighty feats in battle and praised him also that achieved them. And the son of Subhadra, O Bharata, tossed those divisions of the Kaurava army like the tempest tossing a heap of cotton on all sides in the welkin. Routed by him, O Bharata, the troops failed to find a protector like elephants sunk in a slough. Then, O best of men, having routed all troops, Abhimanyu stood, O king, like a blazing fire without a curl of smoke. Indeed, O king, thy warriors were incapable of bearing that slayer of foes like insects impelled by fate, unable to bear a blazing fire. That mighty car warrior and great bowman, having struck all the foes of the Pandavas, looked at that moment like Vasava himself armed with the thunder. And his bow, the back of whose staff was decked with gold, as it moved on every side seemed, O king, like the lightning's flash as it sported amid the clouds. And well-tempered and sharp shafts came from his bowstring in that battle like flights of bees, O king, from blossoming trees in the forest. And as the high-souled son of Subhadra careened on the field on his car, whose limbs were decked with gold, people were incapable of finding an opportunity for striking him. Confounding Kripa and Drona and mighty son of Drona, as also the ruler of the Sindhus, the great bowman moved on the field of battle with great activity and skill. As he consumed thy troops, O Bharata, I beheld his bow incessantly drawn to a circle and resembling on that account the circular halo of light that is sometimes seen around the sun. Brave Kshatriyas, beholding him endued with such activity and scorching the foe thus, thought in consequence of those feats that the world contained two Falgunis. Indeed, O king, the vast host of the Bharatas, afflicted by him, reeled hither and thither like a woman drunk with wine. Routing that large army and causing many mighty car warriors to tremble, he gladdened his friends like Vasava gladdening the celestials after vanquishing Maya. And while being routed by him in that battle, thy troops uttered loud exclamations of woe that resembled the roar of the clouds. Hearing that awful wail, thy troops, O Bharata, that resembled the roar of the very sea at full tide when agitated by the winds. Duryodhana then, O king, addressed the son of Rishyashringa and said, This Abhimanyu singly, O thou of mighty arms, like a second Falguni rooted from rage my army like Vritra routing the celestial host. I do not see any other efficacious medicine for him in battle than thyself, O best of Rakshasas, that art well skilled in every science. Therefore, go speedily and slay the heroic son of Subhadra in battle. As regards ourselves, headed by Bhishma and Drona, we will slay Partha himself. Thus addressed, the mighty and valiant Rakshasa speedily went to battle at the command of thy son, uttering loud roars like the clouds themselves in the season of rains. And in consequence of that loud noise, O king, the vast host of the Pandavas trembled throughout, like the ocean when agitated by the wind. And many combatants, O king, terrified by those roars, giving up dear life, fell prostrate on the earth. Filled with joy and taking up his bow with arrow fixed on the string, and apparently dancing on the terrace of his car, that Rakshasa proceeded against Abhimanyu himself. Then the angry Rakshasa, having in that battle got Arjuna's son within reach, began to rout his ranks, even those that stood not far from him. Indeed, the Rakshasa rushed in battle against that mighty Pandava host, which he began to slaughter, like Vala rushing against the celestial host. Attacked in battle by that Rakshasa of terrible mien, the slaughter was very great, O sire, that took place amongst those troops. Exhibiting his prowess, the Rakshasa began to rout that vast force of the Pandavas with thousands of arrows. Thus slaughtered by that Rakshasa of terrible visage, the Pandava army fled away from excess of fear. Grinding that army like an elephant grinding lotus stalks, the mighty Rakshasa then rushed in battle against the sons of Draupadi. Then those great bowmen, accomplished in fighting with, the sons of Draupadi, rushed towards the Rakshasa in battle like 5 planets rushing against the sun. That best of Rakshasas then was afflicted by those brothers endued with great energy, like the moon afflicted by the 5 planets on the awful occasion of the dissolution of the world. Then the mighty Prativindya quickly pierced the Rakshasa with whetted shafts, sharp as battle axes and furnished with points capable of penetrating every armor. Thereupon that foremost of Rakshasas, with his armor pierced through, looked like a mass of clouds penetrated by the rays of the sun. Pierced with these shafts, furnished with golden wings, Rishyasringa's son, O king, looked resplendent like a mountain with blazing crests. Then those 5 brothers in that great battle pierced that foremost of Rakshasas with many whetted shafts of golden wings. Pierced with those terrible shafts resembling angry snakes, Alambusha, O king, became inflamed with rage like the king of the serpents himself. Deeply pierced, O king, within only a few moments, O sire, by those great warriors, the Rakshasa, much afflicted, remained senseless for a long while. Regaining his consciousness then and swelling through rage to twice his dimensions, he cut off their arrows and standards and bows. And as if smiling the while, he struck each of them with 5 arrows. Then that mighty Rakshasa and great warrior Alambusha, excited with wrath and as if dancing on the terrace of his car, quickly slew the steeds and then the charioteers of those 5 illustrious adversaries of his. And burning with rage, he once more pierced them with sharp arrows of diverse shades by hundreds and thousands. Then that wanderer of the night, with the Rakshasa Alambusha, having deprived those great bowmen of their cars, rushed impetuously at them, wishing to dispatch them to Yama's abode. Beholding them thus afflicted in battle by that wicked-souled Rakshasa, the son of Arjuna rushed at him. Then the battle that took place between him and the cannibal resembled that between Vitra and Vasava. And the mighty warriors of the army, as also of the Pandavas, all became spectators of that engagement. Encountering each other in fierce battle, blazing with wrath, endued with great might and with eyes red in rage, each beheld the other in that battle to resemble the Yuga fire. And that engagement between them became fierce and awful like that between Sakra and Samvara in days of old in the battle between the gods and Asuras. Thus ends the 101st section in the Bhishma Parva of the Bhishma Parva. Section 102, Bhishma Parva continued. Dhritarashtra said, "How, O Sanjaya, did Alambusha resist in combat the heroic son of Arjuna, smiting many of our mighty warriors in battle? And how also did that slayer of hostile heroes Vis, the son of Subhadra, fight with Rishyasringa's son? Tell me all this in detail, exactly as it happened in that fight. What also did Bhima, that foremost of warriors, and the Rakshasa Ghatotkacha, and Nakula and Sahadeva and the mighty warriors Satyaki, and Dhananjaya do with my troops in battle? Tell me all this truly, O Sanjaya, for thou art skilled in narration." Sanjaya said, "I will presently describe to thee, O sire, the awful battle that took place between that foremost of the Rakshasas and the son of Subhadra. I will also describe to thee the prowess that Arjuna put forth in battle, and Bhimasena the son of Pandu and Nakula and Sahadeva, as also the warriors of thy army headed by Bhishma and Drona, all of whom fearlessly achieved wonderful feats of diverse kinds. Alambusha, uttering loud shouts and repeatedly roaring at Abhimanyu, rushed impetuously against that mighty warrior in battle, saying, "Wait! Wait!" Abhimanyu also, repeatedly roaring like a lion, rushed with great force at that mighty bowman, Vis, the son of Rishyasringa, who was an implacable foe of the former's sire. Soon then those two foremost of warriors, man and Rakshasa on their cars, encountered each other like a god and a Danava. That best of Rakshasas was endued with powers of illusion, while Falguni's son was acquainted with celestial weapons. Then Abhimanyu, O king, pierced Rishyasringa's son in that battle with 3 sharp shafts and once more with 5. Alambusha also, excited with wrath, speedily pierced Abhimanyu in the chest with 9 shafts like a guide piercing an elephant with hooks. Then O Bharata, that wanderer of the night, endued with great activity, afflicted Arjuna's son in that combat with 1,000 arrows. Then Abhimanyu, excited with rage, pierced that prince of the Rakshasas in his wide chest with 9 straight shafts of great sharpness. Piercing through his body, these penetrated into his very vitals. And that best of Rakshasas, his limbs mangled by them, looked beautiful like a mountain overgrown with flowering kinshukas. Bearing those shafts of golden wings on his body, that mighty prince of Rakshasas looked radiant like a mountain on fire. Then the vindictive son of Rishyasringa, inflamed with wrath, covered Abhimanyu, who was equal unto Mahendra himself, with clouds of winged arrows. Those sharp shafts, resembling the rods of Yama himself, shot by him, pierced Abhimanyu through and entered the earth. And similarly the gold-decked arrows shot by Arjuna's son, piercing Alambusha through, entered the earth. The son of Subhadra then in that battle, with his straight shafts, obliged the Rakshasa to turn his back upon the field, like Sakra repulsing Maya in days of old. That scorcher of foes, the Rakshasa then, thus repulsed and struck repeatedly by his adversary, exhibited his great powers of illusion by causing a thick darkness to set in. Then all the combatants there, O king, were covered by that darkness. Neither could Abhimanyu be seen, nor could friends be distinguished from foes in that battle. Abhimanyu, however, beholding that thick and awful gloom, invoked into existence, O son of Kuru's race, the blazing solar weapon. Thereupon, O king, the universe once more became visible. And thus he neutralized the illusion of that wicked Rakshasa. Then that prince of men, excited with wrath and endued with great energy, covered that foremost of Rakshasas in that battle with many straight shafts. Diverse other kinds of illusions were conjured up there by that Rakshasa. Conversant with all weapons, the son of Falguni, however, neutralized them all. The Rakshasa then, his illusions all destroyed and himself struck with shafts, abandoned his car even there and fled away in great fear. After that Rakshasa, addicted to unfair fight, had been thus vanquished, the son of Arjuna began to grind thy troops in battle like a juice-blind prince of wild elephants agitating a lake overgrown with lotus. Then Bhishma the son of Santanu, beholding his troops routed, covered Subhadra's son with a thick shower of arrows. Then many mighty warriors of the Dhartashtra army, standing in a ring round that single hero, began to strike him forcibly with their shafts. That hero then, who resembled his sire in prowess and who was equal to Vasudeva in valor and might, that foremost of all wielders of weapons, achieved diverse feats in that battle that were worthy of both his sire and maternal uncle. Then the heroic Dhananjaya, excited with wrath and desirous of rescuing his son, arrived at the spot where the latter was slaughtering thy troops as he came along. And similarly, O king, thy sire Devavrata in that battle approached Partha like Rahu approaching the sun. Then thy sons, O monarch, supported by cars, elephants, and steeds, surrounded Bhishma in that battle and protected him from every side. And so also the Pandavas, O king, clad in mail and surrounding Dhananjaya, engaged in fierce battle, O bull of Bharata's race. Then Saradvat's son Kripa, O king, pierced Arjuna who was staying in front of Bhishma, with 25 shafts. Thereupon, like a tiger attacking an elephant, Satyaki approaching Kripa pierced him with many whetted shafts from desire of doing what was agreeable to the Pandavas. Gautama in return, excited with wrath, quickly pierced him of Madhu's race in the chest with 9 arrows winged with the feathers of the Kanka bird. Sin's grandson also, excited with wrath and forcibly drawing his bow, quickly sped at him an arrow capable of taking his life. The fiery son of Drona, however, excited with wrath, cut in twain that arrow as it coursed impetuously towards Kripa, resembling Indra's bolt in effulgence. Thereupon that foremost of warriors, viz., Sin's grandson, abandoning Gautama, rushed in battle towards Drona's son like Rahu in the firmament against the moon. Drona's son, however, O Bharata, cut Satyaki's bow in twain. After his bow had thus been cut off, the former began to strike the latter with his shafts. Satyaki then, taking up another bow capable of bearing a great strain and slaughtering the foe, struck Drona's son, O king, in the chest and arms with 6 shafts. Pierced therewith and feeling great pain, for a moment he was deprived of his senses and he sat down on the terrace of his car, catching hold of his flagstaff. Regaining his consciousness then, the valiant son of Drona, excited with rage, afflicted him of Vrishni's race in that battle, with 1 long shaft. That shaft, piercing Sin's grandson through, entered the earth like a vigorous young snake entering its hole in the season of spring. And with another broad-headed arrow, Drona's son in that battle cut off the excellent standard of Satyaki. And having achieved this feat he uttered a leonine roar. And once more, O Bharata, he covered his adversary with a shower of fierce shafts like the clouds, O king, covering the sun after summer is past. Satyaki also, O monarch, baffling that arrowy shower, soon covered the son of Drona with diverse showers of arrows. That slayer of hostile heroes, viz., the grandson of Sin, freed from that arrowy shower like the sun from the clouds, began to scorch the son of Drona with his energy. Swelling with rage, the mighty Satyaki once more covered his foe with 1,000 arrows and uttered a loud shout. Beholding his son then thus afflicted like the moon by Rahu, the valiant son of Bharadvaja rushed towards the grandson of Sin. Desirous, O king, of rescuing his son who was afflicted by the Vrishni hero Drona, in that great battle pierced the latter with a shaft of exceeding sharpness. Satyaki then, abandoning the mighty warrior Aswathaman, pierced Drona himself in that battle with 20 arrows of exceeding sharpness. Soon after, that scorcher of force and mighty warrior, viz., Kunti's son of immeasurable soul, excited with wrath rushed in that battle against Drona. Then Drona and Partha encountered each other in fierce combat like the planets Buddha and Sukra, O king, in the firmament. Thus ends the 102nd section in the Bhishma Parva of the Bhishma Parva. Section 103, Bhishma Parva continued. Dhritarashtra said, how did those bulls among men, viz., that great bowman Drona and Dhananjaya the son of Pandu, encounter each other in battle? The son of Pandu is ever dear to the wise son of Bharadvaja. The preceptor also is ever dear to Pritha's son, O Sanjaya. Both of those warriors delight in battle and both of them are fierce like lions. How therefore did Bharadvaja's son and Dhananjaya both fighting with care encounter each other in battle? Sanjaya said, in battle Drona never recognizes Partha as dear to himself. Partha also, keeping a Kshatriya's duty in view, recognizes not in battle his preceptor. Kshatriyas, O king, never avoid one another in battle. Without showing any regard for one another they fight with sires and brothers. In that battle o Bharata, Partha pierced Drona with 3 shafts. Drona however regarded not those shafts shot in battle from Partha's bow. Indeed, Partha once more covered the preceptor in the fight with a shower of arrows. Thereupon the latter blazed up with wrath like a conflagration in a deep forest. Then O king, Drona soon covered Arjuna in that combat with many straight shafts o Bharata. Then King Duryodhana O monarch, dispatched Susaman for taking up the wing of Drona. Then the ruler of the Trigatas, excited with rage and forcibly drawing his bow, covered Partha O king, with a profusion of arrows furnished with iron heads. Shot by those 2 warriors O king, the shafts looked beautiful in the welkin like cranes in the autumnal sky. Those shafts O lord, reaching the son of Kunti entered his body like birds disappearing within a tree bending with a load of tasteful fruits. Arjuna then, that foremost of warriors, uttering a loud roar in that battle pierced the ruler of the Trigatas and his son with his shafts. Pierced by Partha like death himself at the end of the yuga, they were unwilling to avoid Partha, resolved as they were on laying down their lives. And they shot showers on the car of Arjuna. Arjuna however received those arrowy showers with showers of his own, like a mountain o monarch receiving a downpour from the clouds. And the lightness of hand that we then beheld of Vibhatsu was exceedingly wonderful. For alone he baffled that unbearable shower of arrows shot by many warriors, like the wind alone scattering myriads of clouds rushing upon clouds. And at that feat of Partha, the gods and the Danavas assembled there for witnessing the fight, were highly gratified. Then O Bharata, engaged with the Trigatas in that battle, Partha shot O king, the Vayavya weapon against their division. Then arose a wind that agitated the welkin, felled many trees and smote down the hostile troops. Then Drona, beholding the fierce Vayavya weapon, himself shot an awful weapon called the Sela. And when that weapon O ruler of men, was shot by Drona in that battle, the wind abated and the 10 quarters became calm. The heroic son of Pandhu however made the warriors of the Trigata division destitute of prowess and hope, and caused them to turn their backs on the field. Then Duryodhana and that foremost of warriors viz, Kripa and Aswathaman, and Salya and Sudakshina the ruler of the Kambojas, and Vinda and Anuvinda of Avanti, and Valikas supported by the Valikas, with a large number of cars surrounded Partha on all sides. And similarly Bhagadatta also, and the mighty Shratayush surrounded Bhima on all sides with an elephant division. And Burishravas and Sala, and Suvila's son O monarch, began to check the twin sons of Madri with showers of bright and sharp arrows. Bhishma however, in that battle supported by the sons of Dhritarashtra with their troops, approaching Yudhishthira surrounded him on all sides. Beholding that elephant division coming towards him, Partha's son Vrikodara, possessed of great courage began to lick the corners of his mouth like a lion in the forest. Then Bhima, that foremost of warriors, taking up his mace in that great battle quickly jumped down from his car and struck terror into the hearts of thy warriors. Beholding him, mace in hand, those elephant warriors in that battle carefully surrounded Bhimasena on all sides. Stationed in the midst of those elephants, the son of Pandhu looked resplendent like the sun in the midst of a mighty mass of clouds. Then that bull among the sons of Pandhu began with his mace to consume that elephant division, like the wind dispelling a huge mass of clouds covering the welkin. Those tuskers, while being slaughtered by the mighty Bhimasena, uttered loud cries of woe like roaring masses of clouds. With divers scratches on his person inflicted by those huge animals with their tusks, the son of Pritha looked beautiful on the field of battle like a flowering Kinshuka. Seizing some of the elephants by their tusks, he deprived them of those weapons. Wrenching out the tusks of others with those very tusks, he struck them on their frontal globes and felled them in battle like the destroyer himself armed with his rod. Wielding his mace bathing gore and himself bespattered with fat and marrow and smeared with blood, he looked like Rudra himself. Thus slaughtered by him, the few gigantic elephants that remained ran away on all sides oaking, crushing even friendly ranks. And in consequence of those huge elephants fleeing away on all sides, Duryodhana's troops once more, O bull of Bharata's race, fled away from the field. Thus ends the 103rd section in the Bhishma Parva of the Bhishma Parva. Section 104, Bhishma Parva continued. Sanjaya said, at midday O king happened a fierce battle fraught with great carnage, between Bhishma and the Somakas. That foremost of warriors viz. Ganga's son began to consume the ranks of the Pandavas with keen shafts by hundreds and thousands. Thy sire Devavrata began to grind those troops like a herd of bulls grinding with their tread a heap of paddy sheaves. Then Drishtadhyumna and Sikhandin, and Virata and Drupada falling upon Bhishma in that battle, struck that mighty warrior with numerous arrows. Bhishma then, having pierced Drishtadhyumna and Virata each with 3 arrows, sped a long shaft O Bharata at Drupada. Thus pierced in battle by Bhishma, that grinder of foes, those great bowmen became filled with wrath O king, like snakes trod upon by human feet. Then Sikhandin pierced the grandsire of the Bharatas with many shafts. Of unfading glory, Bhishma however, regarding his foe as a female struck him not. Drishtadhyumna then, in that battle blazing up with wrath like fire, struck the grandsire with 3 shafts in his arms and chest. And Drupada pierced Bhishma with 25 shafts, and Virata pierced him with 10, and Sikhandin with 25. Deeply pierced with those shafts he became covered with blood and looked beautiful like a red asoka variegated with flowers. Then the son of Ganga pierced in return each of them with 3 straight shafts. And then O sire, he cut off Drupada's bow with a broad-headed arrow. The latter then, taking up another bow pierced Bhishma with 5 shafts. And he pierced Bhishma's charioteer also with 3 sharp shafts on the field of battle. Then the 5 sons of Draupadi and the 5 Kaikeya brothers and Satyaki also of the Satvata race, headed by Yudhishthira all rushed towards Ganga's son, desirous of protecting the Panchalas headed by Drishtadhyumna. And so all the warriors of thy army also O king, prepared to protect Bhishma, rushed at the head of their troops against the Pandava host. And then happened there a fierce general engagement between thy army of men and steeds, and this that increased the population of Yama's kingdom. And warriors falling upon warriors dispatched one another to Yama's abode. And so men and elephant riders and horse riders, falling upon others of their class, dispatched them to the other world with straight shafts. And here and there on the field O monarch, cars deprived of riders and charioteers by means of divers kinds of fierce shafts, were in that battle dragged on all sides over the field. And those cars O king, crushing large numbers of men and steeds in battle, were seen to resemble the wind itself in speed and vapory edifices in the firmament for their picturesque forms. And many warriors cased in mail and endued with great energy, decked with earrings and headgears and adorned with garlands and bracelets, resembling the children of the celestials equal to Sakra himself for prowess in battle, surpassing Vaisravani in wealth and Vrishaspati in intelligence, ruling over extensive territories, and possessed of great heroism O monarch, deprived of their cars were seen to run hither and thither like ordinary men. Huge tuskers also O chief of men, deprived of their skilled riders, ran, crushing friendly ranks and fell down with loud shrieks. Prodigious elephants looking like newly risen clouds and roaring also like the clouds, were seen to run in all directions deprived of their coats of mail. And O sire, their chamaras and variegated standards, their umbrellas with golden staves, and the bright lances of their riders lay scattered about. And elephant riders O king, deprived of their elephants belonging both of thy army and theirs, were seen to run on foot amid that awful press. And steeds from diverse countries, decked with ornaments of gold, were seen by hundreds and thousands to run with the speed of the wind. And horse riders, deprived of their horses and armed with swords, were in that battle seen to run, or made to run by others assailing them. Elephant, meeting with a flying elephant in that dreadful battle, proceeded quickly crushing foot soldiers and steeds. And similarly O king, those prodigious creatures crushed many cars in that battle, and cars also, coming upon fallen steeds, crushed them in their course. And steeds too, in the press of battle, crushed many foot soldiers O king with their hoofs. And thus O monarch, they crushed one another in divers ways. And in that fierce and awful battle there flowed a terrible river of bloody current. And heaps of boss obstructed its straight course, and the hair of slain warriors formed its moss. And broken cars formed its lakes, and arrows its eddies. And steeds formed its fishes. And heads severed from trunks formed its blocks of stone. And it abounded with elephants that formed its crocodiles. And coats of mail and headgears formed its froth. And boss in the hands of the warriors constituted the speed of its current, and swords its tortoises. And banners and standards in profusion formed the trees on its banks. And mortals constituted its banks, which that river continually ate away. And it abounded with cannibals that formed its swans. And that stream, instead of swelling the ocean with its discharge, swelled the population of Yama's kingdom. And brave Kshatriyas, mighty car warriors, casting off all fear O king, sought to cross that river with the aid of cars, elephants and steeds that played the part of rafts and boats. And as the river Vaitarani beareth all departed spirits towards the domains of the king of the dead, so that river of bloody current bore away all timid men deprived of their senses in a swoon. And the Kshatriyas, beholding that awful carnage, all exclaimed, Alas, through Duryodhana's fault the Kshatriyas are being exterminated. Why, O Dhritarashtra of sinful soul, deluded by avarice, harbored envy for the sons of Pandu, who are graced with numerous virtues. Diverse exclamations of this kind were heard there, made by one another, fraught with the praises of the Pandavas and censure of thy sons. Hearing then these words uttered by all the combatants, thy son Duryodhana, that offender against all, addressed Bhishma and Drona and Kripa and Salya O Bharata, saying, Fight ye without boastfulness. Why tarry ye at all? Then the battle was resumed between the Kurus and the Pandavas, that fierce battle O king, caused by the match at dice and marked by an awful slaughter. Thou beholdest now O son of Vichitravirya, the dreadful fruit of that rejection by thee of the counsels of thy friends, though warned against it by many illustrious persons. Neither the sons of Pandu O king, nor their troops, nor they that follow them, nor the Kauravas, show the least regard for their lives in battle. For this reason O tiger among men, a dreadful destruction of kinsmen is taking place, caused either by destiny or by thy evil policy O king. Thus ends the 104th section in the Bhishma Parva of the Bhishma Parva. Section 105, Bhishma Parva continued. Sanjaya said, O tiger among men, Arjuna sent those Kshatriyas that followed Susaman to the abode of the king of the dead by means of his whetted shafts. Susaman however in that battle, pierced Partha with his shafts. And he pierced Vasudeva with 70, and Arjuna once more with 9 shafts. Checking those shafts by means of his arrowy showers, that mighty car warrior, Vis, the son of Indra, dispatched Susaman's troops unto Yama's abode. Those mighty car warriors, while being slaughtered by Partha in that battle as if by death himself at the end of the Yuga, all fled away from the field O king, struck with panic. Some abandoning their steeds, some abandoning O sire their cars, and others their elephants fled away in all directions. Others taking with them their horses, elephants and cars, fled away O king, with great speed. Foot soldiers in that dreadful battle, throwing aside their weapons and without any regard for one another, fled away hither and thither. Though forbidden by Suzaman, the ruler of the Trigatas, and by other foremost of kings, they stayed not yet in battle. Beholding that host routed, thy son Duryodhana himself at the head of the whole army and with Bhishma ahead, attacked Dhananjaya with all his vigor, for the sake, O king, of protecting the life of the ruler of the Trigatas. And he stayed in battle, scattering divers kinds of arrows, supported by all his brothers. The rest of the men all fled away. Similarly, the Pandavas, O king, clad in mail and with all their vigor, proceeded for the sake of Falguni to the spot where Bhishma was. Although acquainted with the awful prowess in battle of the wielder of Gandiva, these yet proceeded with loud cries and great bravery to the spot where Bhishma was and surrounded him on all sides. Then the Palmyra-bannered hero covered the Pandava army, in that battle, with his straight shafts. The sun having reached the meridian, the Kauravas, O king, fought with the Pandavas in one confused mass. The heroic Satyaki, having pierced Kritavarman with 5 arrows, stayed in battle scattering his arrows by thousands. And so King Drupada also, having pierced Drona with many whetted shafts, once more pierced him with 70 shafts and his charioteer with 9. Bhimasena also, having pierced his great-grandsire King Valika, uttered a loud roar like a tiger in the forest. Arjuna's son Abhimanyu, pierced by Chitrasena with many shafts, deeply pierced Chitrasena in the chest with 3 arrows. Engaged with each other in battle, those 2 foremost of men looked resplendent on the field like the planets Venus and Saturn, O king, in the firmament. Then that slayer of foes, Vis, the son of Subhadra, having slain his antagonist's steeds and charioteer with 9 arrows, uttered a loud shout. Thereupon that mighty car warrior Vis, Chitrasena, quickly jumping down from that car whose steed had been slain, mounted, O king, without delay the car of Durmukha. The valiant Drona pierced the latter's charioteer also. Then, O king, Drupada, thus afflicted at the head of his troops, retreated by the aid of his fleet steeds, recollecting the hostility that existed from days of old between himself and Drona. Bhimasena, within a moment, deprived King Valika of his steeds, car and charioteer, in the very sight of all the troops. Fallen into a situation of great danger and with fear in his heart, O king, Valika, that best of men, jumping down from that vehicle, quickly mounted upon the car of Lakshmana in that battle. Satyaki, having checked Kritavarman in that dreadful battle, fell upon the grandsire and rained on him shafts of divers kinds. Piercing the grandsire with 60 whetted shafts winged with feathers, he seemed to dance on his car, shaking his large bow. The grandsire then hurled at him a mighty dart made of iron, decked with gold, endued with great velocity and beautiful as the daughter of the Nagas. Beholding that irresistible dart, resembling death himself coursing towards him, that illustrious warrior of the Vrishni race baffled it by the celerity of movements. Thereupon that fierce dart, unable to reach him of the Vrishni race, fell down on the earth like a large meteor of blazing splendor. Then he of Vrishni's race, O king, taking up with a firm hand his own dart of golden effulgence, hurled it at the car of the grandsire. That dart, hurled in that dreadful battle with the strength of Satyaki's arms, coursed impetuously like the fatal knight coursing speedily towards a doomed man. As it coursed, however, towards him with great force, Bhishma cut it in twain, O Bharata, with a couple of horseshoe-headed arrows of keen edge, and thereupon it fell down on the earth. Having cut that dart, that grinder of foes, Vis, Ganga's son, excited with wrath and smiling the while, struck Satyaki in the chest with 9 arrows. Then the Pandava warriors, elder brother of Pandu, with their cars, elephants, and steeds, surrounded Bhishma in that battle for the sake of rescuing him of Madhu's race. Then commenced again a fierce battle, making the hair to stand on end, between the Pandavas and the Kurus, both of whom were desirous of victory. Thus ends the 105th section in the Bhishma Parva of the Bhishma Parva. Section 106, Bhishma Parva continued. Sanjaya said, beholding Bhishma excited with wrath in battle, surrounded on all sides by the Pandavas like the sun in the firmament, O king, by the clouds at the end of summer, Duryodhana, O monarch, addressed Dusasana saying, this heroic and great bowman Bhishma, this slayer of heroes, heart-whole bull of Bharata's race, being surrounded on all sides by the brave Pandavas. It is thy duty, O hero, to protect that illustrious one. Protected by us in battle, our grandsire Bhishma will slay all the Panchalas along with the Pandavas. The protection of Bhishma, therefore, I think, is our highest duty, for this great bowman of high voice, Bhishma, is our protector in return. Therefore, surrounding the grandsire with all our troops, do thou protect him who always achieveth the most difficult feats in battle. Thus addressed by Duryodhana, thy son Dusasana, surrounding Bhishma with a large force on all sides, took up his position. Then Suvala's son Sakuni, with hundreds and thousands of horsemen having bright spears and swords and lances in hand, and who formed a proud, well-dressed and strong body bearing standards, and who were mingled with excellent foot soldiers that were all well trained and skilled in battle, began to check Nakula and Sahadeva, and Yudhishthira the son of Pandu, surrounding those foremost of men on all sides. Then King Duryodhana dispatched 10,000 other brave horsemen for resisting the Pandavas. When these rushed like so many Gaduras towards the enemy with great impetuosity, the earth, O king, struck with their horse hoofs, trembled and uttered a loud noise. And the loud clatter of their hoofs was heard, resembling the noise made by a large forest of bamboos, in conflagration on a mountain. And as these dashed over the field, there rose a cloud of dust which, rising to the welkin, shrouded the very sun. And in consequence of those impetuous steeds, the Pandava army was agitated like a large lake with a flight of swans suddenly alighting on its bosom. And in consequence of their neighing, nothing else could be heard there. Then King Yudhishthira and the two sons of Pandu by Madri quickly checked the charge of those horsemen in battle like the continent, O king, bearing the force at full tide of the surging sea swollen with the waters of the rainy season. Then those 3 warriors, O monarch, with their straight shafts, cut off the heads of those horse riders. Slain by those strong bowmen, they fell down, O king, on the earth like mighty elephants tumbling into mountain caves, slain by huge compeers. Indeed, coursing all over the field, those warriors of the Pandava army cut off the heads of those cavalry soldiers with sharp bearded darts and straight shafts. Struck with swords, those horsemen, O bull of Bharata's race, suffered their heads to drop like tall trees dropping their fruits. All over the field, O king, steeds along with their riders were seen fallen or falling, deprived of life. And while being thus slaughtered, the steeds, affected with panic, fled away like smaller animals desirous of saving their lives at sight of the lion. And the Pandavas, O king, having vanquished their foes in that great battle, blew their conches and beat their drums. Then Duryodhana, filled with grief on seeing his troops vanquished, addressed the ruler of the Madras, O chief of the Bharatas, and said, there, the eldest son of Pandu, accompanied by the twins in battle, in thy very sight, O thou of mighty arms, rooteth our troops, O Lord. O mighty armed one, resist him like the continent resisting the ocean. Thou art exceedingly well known as possessed of might and prowess that are irresistible. Hearing these words of thy son, the valiant Salya proceeded with a large body of cars to the spot where Yudhishthira was. Thereupon the son of Pandu began to resist in battle that large host of Salya, rushing impetuously towards him with the force of a mighty wave. And that mighty car warrior was King Yudhishthira the Just, in that battle quickly pierced the ruler of the Madras in the center of the chest with 10 shafts. And Nakula and Sahadeva struck him with 7 straight shafts. The ruler of the Madras then struck each of them with 3 arrows. And once more he pierced Yudhishthira with 60 sharp-pointed arrows. And excited with wrath he struck each of the sons of Madri also with 2 shafts. Then that vanquisher of foes, the mighty armed Bhima, beholding the king in that great battle staying within reach of Salya's car as if within the very jaws of death, quickly proceeded to Yudhishthira's side. Then when the sun, having passed the meridian, was sinking, there commenced a fierce and terrible battle on that part of the field. Thus ends the 106th section in the Bhishma Parva of the Bhishma Parva. Section 107, Bhishma Parva continued. Sanjaya said, Then thy sire, excited with wrath, began to strike the Pathas and their troops all round with excellent shafts of great sharpness. And he pierced Bhima with 12 shafts and Satyaki with 9. And having pierced Nakula with 3 shafts, he pierced Sahadeva with 7. And he pierced Yudhishthira in the arms and the chest with 12 shafts. And piercing Dhrishtadyumna also, that mighty warrior uttered a loud roar. Him Nakula pierced in return with 12 shafts, and Satyaki with 3. And Dhrishtadyumna pierced him with 70 shafts and Bhimasena with 7. And Yudhishthira pierced the grandsire in return with 12 shafts. Drona on the other hand, having pierced Satyaki, pierced Bhimasena next. And he pierced each of them with 5 sharp shafts, each of which resembled the rod of death. Each of those 2 however pierced Drona, that bull among Brahmanas, in return with 3 straight shafts. The Soviras, the Kitavas, the Easterners, the Westerners, the Northerners, the Malavas, the Abhishahas, the Surasenas, the Civis, and the Vasatis did not avoid Bhishma in battle, although they were incessantly slaughtered by him with sharp shafts. And similarly kings coming from diverse countries and armed with diverse weapons approached the Pandavas without seeking to avoid them in battle. And the Pandavas, O king, surrounded the grandsire on all sides. Surrounded on all sides, yet unvanquished by that large body of cars, Bhishma blazed up like a fire in the midst of a forest and consumed his foes. His car was his fire chamber, his bow constituted the flames of that fire, swords, darts, and maces constituted the fuel, his shafts were the sparks of that fire, and Bhishma was himself the fire that consumed the foremost of Kshatriyas. Indeed, with shafts furnished with golden wings and vulturine feathers and endued with great energy, with barbed arrows and nalikas and long shafts, he covered the hostile host. And he felled elephants and warriors also with his sharp shafts. And he made that large body of cars resemble a forest of palmyras shorn of their leafy heads. And that mighty armed warrior, that foremost of all wielders of weapons, O king, deprived cars and elephants and steeds of their riders in that conflict. And hearing the twang of his bowstring and the noise of his palms, loud as the roar of the thunder, all the troops trembled, O Bharata. The shafts of thy sire, O bull of Bharata's race, told on the foe. Indeed, shot from Bhishma's bow, they did not strike the coats of mail only but pierced them through. And we beheld, O king, many cars destitute of their brave riders dragged over the field of battle, O monarch, by the fleet steeds yoked unto them. 14,000 warriors, belonging to the Chedis, the Kasis and the Karushas of great celebrity and noble parentage, prepared to lay down their lives, unretreating from the field and owning excellent standards decked with gold, having met with Bhishma in battle, who resembled the destroyer himself with wide open mouth, all went to the other world along with their cars, steeds and elephants. And we beheld there, O king, cars by hundreds and thousands, some with their axles and bottoms broken and some, O Bharata, with broken wheels. And the earth was strewn with cars broken along with their wooden fences, with the prostrate forms of warriors with shafts, with beautiful but broken coats of mail, with axes, O monarch, with maces and short arrows and sharp shafts, with bottoms of cars, with quivers and broken wheels, O sire, with innumerable bows and scimitars and heads decked with earrings, with leathern fences and gloves and overthrown standards, and with bows broken in various parts. And elephants, O king, destitute of riders, and slain horsemen of the Pandava army lay dead. The valiant Pandavas, notwithstanding all their efforts, could not rally those warriors who, afflicted by the shafts of Bhishma, were flying away from the field. Indeed, O king, that mighty host, while being slaughtered by Bhishma, endued with energy equal to that of Indra himself, broke so completely that no two persons fled together. With its cars, elephants and steeds overthrown, and with its standards laid low in profusion, the army of the sons of Pandu, deprived of senses, uttered loud exclamations of woe. And at that time, sire slew son, and son slew sire, and friend smote dear friend, impelled by fate. And many combatants of the Pandava army, throwing aside their armor, were seen flying in all directions with dishevelled hair. Indeed, the Pandava troops looked like bulls running wild in fear, and no longer restrained by the yoke. Indeed, loud were the exclamations we heard of woe that they uttered. Then that delight of the Yadavas, beholding the Pandava army breaking, reigned the excellent car that he guided, and addressing Vibhatsu the son of Pritha said, "That hour is come, O Partha, which thou hadst hoped for. Strike now, O tiger among men, or thou wilt be deprived of thy senses." Formerly, O hero, thou saidst, O Partha, in that conclave of kings in Virata's city, in the presence also of Sanjaya, these words, "I will slay all the warriors of Dhritarashtra's son, all of them with their followers, including Bhishma and Drona, that would fight with me in battle." O son of Kunti, O chastiser of foes, make those words of thine true. Remembering the duty of a Kshatriya, fight without any anxiety. Arjuna hung down his head and looked askance at him. And Vibhatsu replied very unwillingly, saying, "To acquire sovereignty with hell in the end, having slain those who should not be slain, or the woes of an exile in the woods, these are the alternatives. Which of these should I achieve? Urge the steeds, O Hrishikesa, I will do thy bidding. I will overthrow the Kuru grandsire Bhishma, that invincible warrior." Thus asked, Madhava urged those steeds of a silvery hue to the spot where Bhishma, incapable of being looked at like the sun himself, was staying. Then that large host of Yudhishthira rallied and came again to the fight, beholding the mighty armed Partha proceeding for an encounter with Bhishma. Then Bhishma, that foremost one among the Kurus, repeatedly roared like a lion. And he soon covered Dhananjaya's car with a shower of arrows. Within a trice that car of his, with its steeds and charioteer, became entirely invisible in consequence of that thick shower of arrows. Vasudeva, however, without fear, mustering patience and endued with great activity, urged those steeds mangled with Bhishma's shafts. Then Partha, taking up his celestial bow of twang loud as the roar of the clouds, caused Bhishma's bow to drop from his hands, cutting it into fragments by means of his sharp shafts. Then thy sire, the Kuru hero whose bow had thus been cut off, stringed another large bow within the twinkling of the eye. Arjuna, however, excited with wrath, cut that bow also of his. The son of Santanu applauded that lightness of hand displayed by Arjuna, saying, "Well done, well done. O mighty armed one, well done, O son of Kunti, well done." Having addressed him thus, Bhishma took up another beautiful bow in that battle and shot many arrows at Partha's car. And Vasudeva showed great skill in the management of steeds, for, displaying the circling motion, he baffled all those arrows of Bhishma. Mangled with the arrows of Bhishma, those two tigers among men looked beautiful like two angry bulls marked with scratches of horns. Then that slayer of hostile heroes, Vis, the mighty armed Vasudeva of Madhu's race, beholding that Partha was fighting mildly and that Bhishma was incessantly scattering his arrowy showers in battle, and that stationed between the two hosts, the latter was scorching everything like the sun himself, smiting down the foremost of Yudhishthira's combatants, and in fact achieving feats on Yudhishthira's army like unto what happened at the end of the Yuga, could not any longer bear it. Abandoning then, O sire, Partha's steeds that looked like silver and filled with wrath, that great lord of yoga powers jumped down from that great car. Repeatedly roaring like a lion, the mighty Krishna of great energy and immeasurable splendor, the Lord of universe with eyes red as copper from rage and having his bare arms alone for his weapons, rushed towards Bhishma, whip in hand desirous of slaying him and seeming to split the universe itself with his tread. Beholding Madhava in the vicinity of Bhishma and about to fall upon him in that furious battle, the hearts of all the combatants seemed to be in a stupor. Bhishma is slain! Bhishma is slain! These loud exclamations were heard there, O king, caused by the fear inspired by Vasudeva. Robed in yellow silk and himself dark as the lapis lazuli, Janardana, when he pursued Bhishma, looked beautiful as some mass of clouds charged with lightning. Like a lion towards an elephant, or the leader of a bovine herd upon another of his species, that bull of Madhu's race with a loud roar, impetuously rushed towards Bhishma. Beholding him of eyes like lotus petals thus rushing towards him in that battle, Bhishma began to fearlessly draw his large bow. And with a fearless heart he addressed Govinda, saying, Come, come, O thou of eyes like lotus petals! O God of the gods, I bow to thee! O best of the Sattvatas, throw me down today in this great battle! O God, slain by thee in battle, O sinless one, great will be the good done to me, O Krishna, in every respect in the world. Amongst all in the three worlds, great is the honor done to me today in battle, O Govinda. Strike me as thou pleasest, for I am thy slave, O sinless one. Meanwhile, the mighty armed Partha, quickly following Kesava behind, seized him by encircling him with his two arms. That best of male beings was Krishna of eyes like lotus petals, seized by Partha, still proceeded with great speed, bearing the latter away with him. The mighty Partha, that slayer of hostile heroes, however, forcibly catching hold of his legs, stopped Hrishikesa with great difficulty at the 10th step. Then Arjuna, his dear friend, filled with sorrow, affectionately addressed Kesava, who was then sighing like a snake and whose eyes were troubled in wrath, saying, O thou of mighty arms, stop! O Kesava, it behoveth thee not to make those words false which thou hadst spoken before, viz, I will not fight. O Madhava, people will say that thou art a liar. All this burden resteth upon me. I will slay the grandsire. I swear, O Kesava, by my weapons, by truth, and my good deeds that, O slayer of foes, I will do all by which the destruction of my foes may be achieved. Behold, this very day that invincible and mighty warrior in the act of being thrown down by me, with the greatest ease, like the crescent moon at the end of the Yuga when the destruction of the universe comes. Madhava, however, hearing these words of the high-souled Falguni, spoke not a word, but in anger once more mounted upon the car, and then upon those two tigers among men, when stationed on their car, Bhishma the son of Santanu once more poured his arrowy showers like the clouds pouring rain upon the mountain breast. Thy sire Devavrata took the lives of the hostile warriors like the sun sucking with his rays the energies of all things during summer. As the Pandavas had been breaking the ranks of the Kurus in battle, so thy sire broke the Pandava ranks in battle. And the routed soldiers, helpless and hurtless, slaughtered in hundreds and thousands by Bhishma, were unable to even look at him in that battle, him who resembled the midday sun blazing in his own splendor. Indeed, the Pandavas, afflicted with fear, timidly gazed at Bhishma, who was then achieving superhuman feats in that battle. And the Pandava troops, thus fleeing away, O Bharata, failed to find a protector, like a herd of kin sunk in a shoal of ants while being trod down by a strong person. Indeed, The Pandavas could not, O Bharata, look at that mighty warrior incapable of being shaken, who, furnished with a profusion of shafts, was scorching the kings in the Pandava army, and who in consequence of those shafts looked like the blazing sun shading his fiery rays. And while he was thus grinding the Pandava army, the 1,000-red maker of day repaired to the setting hills, and the troops, worn with fatigue, set their hearts on withdrawal from the field. Thus ends the 107th section in the Bhishma Parva of the Bhishma Parva. Section 108, Bhishma Parva continued. Sanjaya said, while they were battling, the sun set, O Bharata, and there came the dreadful hour of twilight, and the battle could no longer be seen. Then King Yudhishthira, seeing that twilight had come and that his own troops, slaughtered by Bhishma, had thrown aside their weapons, and that stricken with fear and turned off the field, they were seeking to flee away, and beholding Bhishma also, that mighty warrior, excited with wrath and afflicting everybody in fight, and noticing that the mighty warriors of the Somakas, having been vanquished, had all become cheerless, reflected a little and then ordered the troops to be withdrawn. Then King Yudhishthira withdrew his forces. And similarly the withdrawal of thy forces also took place at the same time. Then those mighty warriors, O chief of the Kurus, having withdrawn their forces, entered their tents, themselves mangled in battle. Afflicted by the shafts of Bhishma and reflecting upon that hero's feats in battle, the Pandavas obtained no peace of mind. Bhishma also, having vanquished the Pandavas and the Srinjayas in battle, was worshipped by thy sons and glorified by them, O Bharata. Accompanied by the rejoicing Kurus, he then entered his tent. Night then set in, that deprives all creatures of their senses. Then in that fierce hour of night, the Pandavas, the Vrishnis and the invincible Srinjayas sat down for a consultation. All those mighty persons, skilled in arriving at conclusions in council, coolly deliberated about that which was beneficial for them in view of their immediate circumstances. Then King Yudhishthira, having reflected for a long while, said these words, casting his eyes on Vasudeva, behold, O Krishna, the high-souled Bhishma of fierce prowess. He crusheth my troops like an elephant crushing a forest of reeds. We dare not even look at that high-souled warrior. Like a raging conflagration he licketh up my troops. The valiant Bhishma of keen weapons, when excited with wrath in battle and bow in hand shooting his shafts, becometh as fierce as the mighty Nagatakshaka of virulent poison. Indeed, the angry Yama is capable of being vanquished, or even the chief of the celestials armed with the thunder, or Varuna himself, noose in hand, or the lord of the Yakshas armed with mace. But Bhishma, excited with wrath, is incapable of being vanquished in battle. When this is the case, O Krishna, I am, through the weakness of my understanding, plunged in an ocean of grief, having got Bhishma as a foe in battle. I will retire into the woods, O invincible one. My exile there would be for my benefit. Battle, O Krishna, I no longer desire. Bhishma slayeth us always. As an insect, by rushing into a blazing fire, meeteth only with death, even so I rush upon Bhishma. In putting forth prowess, O thou of Vrishni's race, for the sake of my kingdom, I am alas led to destruction. My brave brothers have all been exceedingly afflicted with arrows. In consequence of the affection they bear to myself, their eldest brother, they had to go into the woods deprived of kingdom. For myself alone, O slayer of Madhu, hath Krishna been sunk into such distress. I regard life to be of high value. Indeed, even life now seemeth to be difficult of being saved. If I can save that life, its later remnant will I pass in the practice of excellent virtue. If, with my brothers, O Kesava, I am worthy of thy favor, tell me, O Krishna, what is for my benefit, without contravening the duties of my order. Hearing these words of his and describing the situation in detail, Krishna from compassion said these words in reply for comforting Yudhishthira. O son of Dharma, O thou that art firm in truth, do thou not indulge in sorrow, thou that hast these invincible heroes, these slayers of foes for thy brothers. Arjuna and Bhimasena are each endued with the energy of the wind and the fire. The twin sons of Madri also are each as valiant as the chief of the celestials himself. From the good understanding that exists between us, do thou set me also to this task. Even I, O son of Pandu, will fight with Bhishma. Directed by thee, O great king, what is there that I may not do in great battle? Challenging that bull among men with Bhishma, I will slay him in battle, in the very sight of the Dhartashtra's, if Falguni doth not wish to slay him. If, O son of Pandu, thou seest victory to be certain on the slaughter of the heroic Bhishma, even I on a single car will slay that aged grandsire of the Kurus. Behold, O king, my prowess, equal to that of the great Indra in battle. I will overthrow from his car that warrior who always shooteth mighty weapons. He that is an enemy of the sons of Pandu without doubt, is my enemy also. They that are yours are mine, and so they that are mine are yours. Thy brother Arjuna is my friend, relative and disciple. I will, O king, cut off my own flesh and give it away for the sake of Arjuna. And this tiger among men also can lay down his life for my sake. O sire, even this is our understanding with, that we will protect each other. Therefore command me, O king, in what way I am to fight. Formerly, at Upaplavya Partha had, in the presence of many persons, vowed saying, I will slay the son of Ganga. These words of the intelligent Partha should be observed in practice. Indeed, if Partha requests me, without doubt I will fulfill that vow. Or, let it be the task of Falguni himself in battle. It is not heavy for him. He will slay Bhishma, that subjugator of hostile cities. If excited in battle, Partha can achieve feats that are incapable of being achieved by others. Arjuna can slay in battle the very gods exerting themselves actively, along with the Daityas and the Danavas. What need be said of Bhishma therefore, O king? Endued with great energy, Bhishma the son of Santanu, is now of perverted judgment, of intelligence decayed and of little sense without doubt, he knoweth not what he should do. Hearing these words of Krishna, Yudhishthira said, It is even so, thou of mighty arms, even as thou sayest, O thou of Madhu's race. All these together are not competent to bear thy force. I am sure of always having whatever I desire when, O tiger among men, I have thyself staying on my side. O foremost of victorious persons, I would conquer the very gods with Indra at their head, when, O Govinda, I have thee for my protector. What need I say therefore of Bhishma, though he is a mighty warrior? But, O Krishna, I dare not for my own glorification falsify thy words. Therefore, O Madhava, as promised before by thee, render me aid without fighting for me. In this battle an agreement was made by me with Bhishma. He said, I will give thee counsel, but fight I shall never for thee, since I shall have to fight for Duryodhana's sake. Know this for truth. Therefore, O Lord, Bhishma may give me sovereignty by giving me good counsel, O Madhava. Therefore, O slayer of Madhu, all of us accompanied by thee will once more repair unto Devavrata for asking him about the means of his own death. All of us then, O best of persons, together going to Bhishma without delay will speedily ask him of Kuru's race his advice. O Janardana, he will truly give us beneficial counsel, and O Krishna, I will do in battle what he will say. Of austere woes, he will give us counsel as also victory. We were children and orphans. By him were we reared. O Madhava, him our aged grandsire, I wish to slay, him the sire of our sire. O fie upon the profession of a Kshatriya. Sanjaya continued, hearing these words, O king, he of Vrishni's race said unto Yudhishthira, O thou of great wisdom, these words of thine, O king, are to my taste. Bhishma, otherwise called Devavrata, is skilled in weapons. With only his glances he can consume the foe. Repair unto that son of the ocean-going Ganga, for asking him about the means of his death. Asked by thee in particular, he will certainly say the truth. We will therefore proceed for questioning the Kuru grandsire. Repairing unto the reverend son of Santanu, we will, O Bharata, ask him his advice, and according to the advice that he will give us, we will fight with the foe. Having thus deliberated, elder brother of Pandu, the heroic sons of Pandu and the valiant Vasudeva all proceeded together towards the abode of Bhishma, casting aside their coats of mail and weapons, and entering then his tent, they all bowed to him, bending their heads. And the sons of Pandu, O king, worshipping that bull of Bharata's race and bowing unto him with their heads, sought his protection. The Kuru grandsire, the mighty armed Bhishma, then addressed them, saying, Welcome art thou, O thou of Vrishni's race. Welcome art thou, O Dhananjaya. Welcome to thee, O King Yudhishthira the just, and to thee, O Bhima. Welcome to you also, ye twins. What am I to do now for enhancing your joy? Even if it be exceedingly difficult of achievement, I will yet do it with all my soul. Unto the son of Ganga, who thus repeatedly spoke unto them with such affection, King Yudhishthira with a cheerful heart, lovingly said these words, O thou that art conversant with everything, how shall we obtain victory, and how shall we acquire sovereignty? How also may this destruction of creatures be stopped? Say all these unto me, O Lord. Tell us the means of thy own death. How, O hero, shall we be able to bear thee in battle? O grandsire of the Kurus, thou givest not thy foes even a minute hole to pick in thee. Thou art seen in battle with thy bow ever drawn to a circle. When thou takest thy shafts, when aimest them, and when drawest the bow for letting them off, no one is able to mark. O slayer of hostile heroes, constantly smiting as thou dost cars and steeds and men and elephants, we behold thee on thy car, O mighty armed one, to resemble a second sun. What man is there, O bull of Bharata's race, who can venture to vanquish thee, scattering showers of arrows in battle and causing a great destruction? Tell me, O grandsire, the means by which we may vanquish thee in battle, by which sovereignty may be ours, and lastly, by which my army may not have to undergo such destruction. Hearing these words, Santanu's son, elder brother of Pandu, said unto the son of Pandu, As long as I am alive, O son of Kunti, victory cannot be yours in battle, O thou of great wisdom. Truly do I say this unto thee. After however I am vanquished in fight, ye may have victory in battle, ye sons of Pandu. If therefore ye desire victory in the battle, smite me down without delay. I give ye permission, ye sons of Pritha, strike me as ye please. I am thus known to you in what I regard to be a fortunate circumstance. After I am slain, all the rest will be slain. Therefore do as I bid. Yudhishthira said, Tell us the means by which we may vanquish thee in battle, thee that art, when excited with wrath in the fight, like unto the destroyer himself armed with mace. The wielder of the thunderbolt may be vanquished, or Varuna, or Yama. Thou however art incapable of being defeated in battle by even the gods and asuras united together, with Indra at their head. Bhishma said, That, O son of Pandu, is true which thou sayest, O thou of mighty arms. When, with weapons and my large bow in hand, I contend carefully in battle, I am incapable of being defeated by the very gods and the asuras with Indra at their head. If however I lay aside my weapons, even these warriors can slay me. One that hath thrown away his weapons, one that hath fallen down, one whose armor hath slipped off, one whose standard is down, one who is flying away, one who is frightened, one who says I am thine, one who is a female, one who beareth the name of a female, one no longer capable of taking care of one's self, one who hath only a single son, or one who is a vulgar fellow, with these I do not like to battle. Hear also, O king, about my resolve formed before. Beholding any inauspicious omen I would never fight. That mighty warrior, the son of Drupada, O king, whom thou hast in thy army, who is known by the name of Sikhundin, who is wrathful in battle, brave and ever victorious, was a female before but subsequently obtained manhood. How all this took place, ye all know it truly. Brave in battle and clad in mail, let Arjuna, keeping Sikhundin before him, attack me with his sharp shafts. When that inauspicious omen will be there, especially in the form of one that was a female before, I will never seek, though armed with bow and arrow, to strike him. Obtaining that opportunity, let Dhananjaya the son of Pandu quickly pierce me on every side with his shafts, O bull of Bharata's race. Except the highly blessed Krishna, and Dhananjaya the son of Pandu, I do not behold the person in the three worlds who is able to slay me while exerting myself in battle. Let Vibhatsu therefore, armed with weapons, struggling carefully in battle with his excellent bow in hand, placing Sikhundin, or something else before, throw me down from my car. Then the victory will be certain. Do this, O great king, even this that I have said unto thee, O thou of excellent voice. Thou wilt then be able to slay all Dhartashtra's assembled together in battle. Sanjaya continued. The Pathas then, having ascertained all this, went back to their tents, saluting the Guru grandsire Vis, the high-souled Bhishma. After Ganga's son, prepared to go to the other world, had said this, Arjuna, burning with grief and his face suffused in shame, said these words, How, O Madhava, shall I fight in battle with the grandsire, who is my senior in years, who is possessed of wisdom and intelligence, and who is the oldest member of our race? While sporting in days of childhood, O Vasudeva, I used to smear the body of this high-souled and illustrious one with dust by climbing on his lap with my own filthy body. O younger brother of Gada, he is the sire of my sire Pandu. While a child, climbing on the lap of this high-souled one, I once called him father. I am not thy father but thy father's father, O Bharata. Even this is what he said to me in reply in my childhood. He who said so, oh, how can he be slain by me? Oh, let my army perish. Whether it is victory or death that I obtain, I will never fight that high-souled person. Even this is what I think. What dost thou think, O Krishna? Vasudeva said, having vowed the slaughter of Bhishma before, O Jishnu, how canst thou abstain from slaying him agreeably to the duties of a Kshatriya? Throw down from his car, O Partha, that Kshatriya who is invincible in battle. Victory can never be yours without slaying Ganga's son. Even thus shall he go to the abode of Yama. This hath been settled before by the gods. That which hath been destined before, O Partha, must happen. It cannot be otherwise. None save the invincible one, not even the wielder of the thunderbolt himself, would be capable of fighting with Bhishma, who is like the destroyer with wide open mouth. Slay Bhishma without any anxiety. Listen also to these words of mine that are what Vrihaspati of great intelligence had said unto Sakra in days of old. One should slay even an aged person endued with every merit and worthy of reverence if he committeth a foe, or indeed any other who approacheth for destroying one's self, O Dhananjaya. This is the eternal duty sanctioned for the Kshatriyas, that they should fight, protect subjects and perform sacrifices, all without malice. Arjuna said, Sikhundin, O Krishna, will certainly be the cause of Bhishma's death, for Bhishma, as soon as he beholds the prince of the Panchalas, abstains from striking. Therefore, keeping Sikhundin before him and at our head, we will, by that means, overthrow the son of Ganga. Even this is what I think. I will hold in check other great bowmen with my shafts. As regards Sikhundin, he will fight with Bhishma alone, that foremost of all warriors. I have heard from that chief of the Kurus that he would not strike Sikhandin, for having been born before as a woman he subsequently became a male person. Sanjaya continued, having settled this with Bhishma's permission, the Pandavas along with Madhava went away with rejoicing hearts. And then those bulls among men retired to their respective beds. Thus ends the 108th section in the Bhishma Vada Parva of the Bhishma Parva. Section 109, Bhishma Vada Parva continued. Dhritarashtra said, how did Sikhandin advance against the son of Ganga in battle, and how did Bhishma also advance against the Pandavas? Say all this unto me, O Sanjaya. Sanjaya said, then all those Pandavas, towards the hour of sunrise with beat of drums and cymbals and smaller drums and with the blare of conches of milky whiteness all around, went out for battle, placing Sikhandin in their van. And they marched out, O king, having formed an array that was destructive of all force. And Sikhandin, O monarch, was stationed in the very van of all the troops. And Bhimasena and Dhananjaya became the protectors of his car wheels. And in his rear were the sons of Draupadi and the valiant Abhimanyu. And those mighty car warriors Vis, Satyaki and Chekitna, became the protectors of the last. And behind them was Dhrishtadyumna protected by the Panchalas. Next to Dhrishtadyumna behind, marched the royal Yudhishthira accompanied by the twins, filling the air with leonine shouts, O bull of Bharata's race. Next behind him was Virata, surrounded by his own troops. Next to him marched Drupada, O mighty armed one. And the 5 Kaikeya brothers and the valiant Dhrishtaketu, O Bharata, protected the rear of the Pandava army. Having disposed their vast army in such an array, the Pandavas rushed against thy host prepared to cast away their lives. And similarly the Kauravas, O king, placing that mighty car warrior Bhishma at the head of their whole host, proceeded against the Pandavas. And that invincible warrior was protected by thy mighty sons. Next behind them was the great bowman Drona, as also his mighty son Aswathaman. Next behind was Bhagadatta surrounded by his elephant division. And behind Bhagadatta were Kripa and Kritavarman. Behind them were Sudakshina the mighty ruler of the Kambojas, and Jayatsena the king of the Magadhas, and Suvala's son and Vrihadvala. And similarly many other kings that were all great bowmen, protected the rear of thy host, O Bharata. As each day came, Bhishma the son of Santanu formed arrays in battle, sometimes after the manner of the Asuras, sometimes after that of the Pisachas, and sometimes after that of the Rakshasas. Then commenced the battle between thy troops, O Bharata, and theirs, both parties smiting one another and increasing the population of Yama's kingdom. And the Parthas with Arjuna at their head, placing Sikhandin in the van, proceeded against Bhishma in that battle, scattering divers kinds of arrows. And then, O Bharata, afflicted by Bhishma with his shafts, many of thy warriors, profusely bathed in blood, repaired to the other world. And Nakula and Sahadeva, and the mighty car warrior Satyaki, approaching thy army, began to afflict it with great vigor. Thus slaughtered in battle, O bull of Bharata's race, thy warriors were unable to resist that vast host of the Pandavas. Then thy host, vigorously afflicted by great car warriors and thus slaughtered by them everywhere, fled away on all sides. Slaughtered with sharp shafts by the Pandavas and the Srinjayas, they found not a protector, O bull of Bharata's race. Dhritarashtra said, Tell me, O Sanjaya, what the valiant Bhishma, excited with rage, did in battle upon beholding my host afflicted by the Parthas. O sinless one, tell me how that hero, that chastiser of foes, rushed against the Pandavas in battle, and slaughtered the Somakas. Sanjaya said, I will tell thee, O king, what thy sire did when thy son's host was afflicted by the Pandavas and the Srinjayas. With cheerful hearts, the brave sons of Pandu, elder brother of Pandu, encountered thy son's host, slaughtering all whom they met. That carnage, O chief of men, of human beings, elephants and steeds, that destruction by the foe of thy army in battle, Bhishma could not brook. That invincible and great bowman, then reckless of his very life, poured upon the Pandavas, the Panchalas, and the Srinjayas showers of long shafts and calf-toothed and crescent-shaped arrows. And with weapons, O monarch, he checked with his shafts and with showers of other weapons, both offensive and defensive, all sped with energy and wrath, the 5 foremost of mighty warriors of the Pandavas, who had been struggling vigorously in battle. Excited with wrath, he slaughtered in that battle countless elephants and steeds. And that bull among men, O monarch, throwing down many warriors from their cars and horsemen from their horses, and crowds of foot soldiers, and elephant warriors from the backs of the beasts they rode, struck terror into the foe. And the Pandava warriors all rushed together upon Bhishma singly, upon that mighty warrior struggling in battle with great activity, like the Asuras rushing together upon him with the thunderbolt in hand. Shooting on all sides his whetted arrows, whose touch resembled that of Indra's thunder, he seemed to the enemy to have assembled a terrible visage. While fighting in that battle, resembling that of Sakra himself, his large bow seemed to be always drawn to a circle. Beholding those feats in battle, thy sons, O monarch, filled with exceeding wonder, worshipped the grandsire. The Pathas cast their eyes, with cheerless hearts, upon thy heroic sire struggling in battle, like the celestials upon the Asura Viprachitya in days of old. They could not resist that warrior who then resembled the destroyer himself with wide open mouth. In that battle on the 10th day, Bhishma with his sharp shafts consumed the division of Sikhandin like a conflagration consuming a forest. Him resembling an angry snake of virulent poison, or the destroyer urged by death himself, Sikhandin pierced with 3 shafts in the center of the chest. Deeply pierced therewith, Bhishma saw that it was Sikhandin who was piercing him. Excited with wrath, but unwilling to fight with Sikhandin, Bhishma laughingly said, "Whether thou choosest to strike me or not, I will never fight with thee. Thou art that Sikhandini still, which the Creator had made thee first." Hearing these words of his, Sikhandin, deprived of his senses by wrath and licking the corners of his mouth, addressed Bhishma in that battle, saying, "I know thee, O mighty armed one, to be the exterminator of the Kshatriya race. I have heard also of thy battle with Jamdagni's son. I have also heard much of thy superhuman prowess. Knowing thy prowess, I will still fight with thee today. For doing what is agreeable to the Pandavas and is agreeable to my own self, O chastiser of foes, I will today fight with thee in battle, O best of men. I will of a certainty slay thee. I swear this before thee by my truth. Hearing these words of mine, do that which thou shouldst. Whether thou choosest to strike me or not, thou shalt not escape me with life. O thou that art ever victorious, O Bhishma, look thy last on this world." Sanjaya continued, "Having said so, Sikhandin in that battle pierced Bhishma with 5 straight shafts, having already pierced him with his wordy shafts." Hearing those words of his, the mighty warrior Arjuna, regarding Sikhandin to be Bhishma's destroyer, urged him on, saying, "I will fight behind thee, routing the foe with my shafts." Excited with fury, rush thou against Bhishma of terrible prowess. The mighty Bhishma will not be able to afflict thee in battle. Therefore, O mighty armed one, encounter Bhishma with vigor. If, O sire, thou returnest today without slaying Bhishma, thou wilt with myself be an object of ridicule to the world. Seek to do that in battle by which, O hero, we may not incur ridicule in this great battle. Slay the grandsire. O thou of great strength, I will protect thee in this battle, checking all the warriors of the Kuru army. Do thou slay the grandsire." Drona and Drona's son, and Kripa and Suyodhana, and Chitrasena and Vikarna, and Jayadratha the ruler of the Sindhus, Vinda and Anuvinda of Avanti, and Sudakshina the ruler of the Kambojas, and the brave Bhagadatta, and the mighty king of the Magadhas, and Somadatta's son, and the brave Rakshasa who is Rishyasringa's son and the ruler of the Trigatas, along with all the other great warriors of the Kuru army, I will check like the continent resisting the surging sea. Indeed, I will hold in check all the mighty warriors of the Kuru army assembled together and battling with us. Do thou slay the grandsire. Thus ends the 109th section in the Bhishma Vada Parva of the Bhishma Parva. Section 110, Bhishma Vada Parva continued. Dhritarashtra said, how did Sikhundin the prince of the Panchalas excited with wrath, rush in battle against the grandsire, Vis, Ganga's son of righteous soul and regulated voice? Which mighty warriors of the Pandava army with appraised weapons, desirous of victory and exerting themselves with activity, protect Sikhundin on that occasion which required great activity? How also did Bhishma, the son of Santanu, endued with great energy fight on that 10th day of battle with the Pandavas and the Srinjayas? I cannot brook the idea of Sikhundin encountering Bhishma in battle. Indeed, when Sikhundin attacked Bhishma, was Bhishma's car or his bow broken? Sanjaya said, while fighting in that battle, O bull of Bharata's race, neither the bow nor the car of Bhishma had suffered any injury. He was then slaying the foe with straight shafts. Many thousands of mighty warriors belonging to thy army, as also elephants soaking and steeds well harnessed, proceeded for battle with the grandsire in the van. Agreeably to his vow, O thou of Kuru's race, the ever victorious Bhishma was incessantly engaged in slaughtering the troops of the Parthas. The Panchalas and the Pandavas were unable to bear that great bowman battling with them and slaying his foes with his shafts. When the 10th day came, the hostile army was torn into pieces by Bhishma with his shafts by hundreds and thousands. Elder brother of Pandu, the sons of Pandu were incapable of defeating in battle the great bowman Bhishma, who resembled the destroyer himself armed with the lance. Then, O king, the unvanquished Vibhatsu or Dhananjaya, who was capable of drawing the bow with even the left hand, came to that spot, frightening all the warriors. Roaring loudly like a lion and repeatedly drawing the bowstring, and scattering showers of arrows, Partha careened on the field of battle like death himself. Frightened at those roars of his, thy warriors, O bull of Bharata's race, fled away in terror, like smaller animals, O king, at the sound of the lion. Beholding the son of Pandu, crowned with victory and thus afflicting that host, Duryodhana himself under the influence of terror addressed Bhishma and said, Yon son of Pandu, O sire, with white steeds yoked unto his car, and having Krishna for his charioteer, consumeth all my troops like a conflagration consuming a forest. Behold, O son of Ganga, all troops, slaughtered by Pandu's son in battle, are O foremost of warriors, fleeing away. Indeed, as the herdsman belaboureth his cattle in the forest, even so, O scorcher of foes, is my army being belaboured. Broken and driven away on all sides by Dhananjaya with his shafts, the invincible Bhima is also routing that already broken host of mine. And Satyaki and Chekitana, and the twin sons of Madri, and the valiant Abhimanyu, these also are routing my troops. The brave Dhrishtadyumna and the Rakshasa Ghatotkacha also are vigorously breaking and driving away my army in this fierce conflict. Of these troops that are being slaughtered by all those mighty warriors, I do not see any other refuge in the matter of their staying and fighting on the field, O Bharata, save thee, O tiger among men, that art possessed of prowess equal to that of the celestials. Therefore, receive thou those great warriors without delay, and be thou the refuge of these afflicted troops. Thus addressed by him, O king, thy sire Devavrata the son of Santanu, reflecting for a moment and settling what he should do, said these words unto thy son, comforting him therewith. O Duryodhana, listen calmly to what I say, O king. O thou of great might, formerly I vowed before thee that slaying every day 10,000 high-souled Kshatriyas I would come back from the battle. I have fulfilled that vow, O bull of Bharata's race. O thou of great might, today I will achieve even a great feat. Today I will either sleep, myself being slain, or I will slay the Pandavas. O tiger among men, I will today free myself from the debt I owe thee, the debt, O king, arising out of the food thou gavest me, by casting away my life at the head of thy army. Having said these words, O chief of the Bharatas, that invincible warrior, scattering his shafts among the Kshatriyas, attacked the Pandava host. And the Pandavas then, O bull of Bharata's race, began to resist the son of Ganga, staying in the midst of his forces, and excited with wrath like a snake of virulent poison. Indeed, O king, on that 10th day of the battle, Bhishma, displaying his might, slew, O son of Kuru's race, hundreds of thousands. And he drained the energies of those royal and mighty warriors that were the foremost among the Panchalas, like the sun sucking up the moisture of the earth with his rays. Having slain 10,000 elephants of great activity and 10,000 steeds also, O king, along with their riders, and full 200,000 of foot soldiers, that best of men, viz., Bhishma, shone resplendent in battle like a fire without a curl of smoke. And no one amongst the Pandavas was capable of even looking at him, who then resembled the burning sun staying in the northern solstice. The Pandavas, however, though afflicted in battle by that great bowman, still rushed, accompanied by the mighty warriors of the Srinjayas, for slaughtering him. Battling with myriads upon myriads around him, Santanu's son Bhishma then looked like the cliff of Meru, covered on all sides with masses of clouds. Thy sons, however, stood surrounding Bhishma on all sides with a large force for protecting him. Then commenced a fierce battle between the Kurus and the Pandavas. Thus ends the 110th section in the Bhishma Vada Parva of the Bhishma Parva. If you enjoyed this audiobook, please like and subscribe to be notified of when new audiobooks are uploaded. Thank you for listening and learning. Shanti.